Alright guys, welcome back. So it has been a few days since the last video. I do apologize. I will be more consistent moving forward. I've just been a bit sick again lately. I don't know what's going on, change of season or something. I think just maybe like a health bear market for Paradise. But the immune system is short at the moment, short biased. But yeah, we've had some interesting moves over the past few days, especially, we had a mega dump like 10 minutes before the monthly close. So we're going to discuss that. We're going to discuss key levels for BTC and ETH, high time frame, low time frame. My plans moving forward, and I'm also going to give you the major high time frame line in the sand to the downside that I am looking for to start building a bigger spot position for the next attack at all-time high, whenever that is, maybe 2026, maybe onwards. But it's my sort of cold storage line in the sand where I'm aiming to stack some BTC for the next run. But before I do that, please like and subscribe to the channel, and let's hop into it. So we'll start on the yearly. Obviously, we were looking for that bottom to form always down here at the 80k lows at the previous year's value area high. That was pretty much a perfect move up. I was looking for it to get capped at the developing yearly value area low. You can see we actually overshot that quite a bit. But this now gives us a high time frame range to work with. So, if we're pulling it from the 80k lows up to these 93k highs, we effectively have a range that we can play in here. Obviously, we're nowhere near either side of it right now, sort of diddling in the middle. But that are intraday trades to take in this zone. But anyway, what I'm kind of looking for, it's still the same format for me. High time frame wise, I am looking for us eventually, whenever that comes, to start trading back inside value and get up to 365-day rolling VWAP and the developing yearly VWAP. This is where I think we put in that lower high shoulder and we look for a move down, possibly back to the value area high, but my line in the sand where I'm looking for an even lower sweep is to come down to 65k level, which we'll discuss in a bit. But there's a lot of confluence up here for rejection once we get up there. We obviously have this massive cluster of supply up here as well. There's also some composite levels, which I'm going to cover in a bit. But just in terms of like this being the high time frame line in the sand for rejection, I do think this is still my plan. If we start accepting above this, if we get above this whole zone and start consolidating and start marking up into the highs, we start clearing, developing yearly value area high, I think all-time high probably comes pretty quickly then. But until that happens, we're obviously in a bear market right now, pretty much shifted the regime once we lost all these trends. So we just need to play sort of level to level as we speak. All right, out to the quarterly. So you can see we came down, we tagged the Q2 value area low, we had a big deviation below it, we came inside, we gave it a very nice retest just here before this markup. Where do we mark up into? Developing quarterly value area low. That's where we rejected from, pretty clean. You can also see on the 12-hour chart, nice cluster of supply up here. So it was pretty good for rejection. We can actually look at the low time frame range in this a sec on the weekly. And we'll see why this was such a clean short to take. A short I did take in the Miles High Club, which I'll show you in a bit. Onto the monthly, we just had the monthly close, so now we have new monthly values. This is now the developing has switched into the previous month's value. So you can see we have that resistance just above us. This is roughly at 87,650 and kind of where we're looking for some sort of rejection. Actually seeing somewhat of that now, like this is a 4-hour breaker right here. I'm actually just going to localize it to the bodies. You can see pretty much we are finding a bit of like resistance at that. Anywhere in this zone up here, up into 87.6, I expect to see some sort of rejection. Now we can see here in the yearly as well, like getting above that level would line up with us getting back inside the developing yearly value. I think if we get back inside developing yearly value with a daily close, obviously it's a daily chart we're using here, so I want to see a daily close back up here. Something like this, and then we can look for some sort of rotation within that. But until that happens, we're now trading back under that, so this is still looking bearish to me. I am long at the moment, just on intraday time frame. I took profit on my shorts, which we'll show you in a sec. But yeah, just sort of this is the line in the sand. This is how I start marking out levels on the chart. Now, going to the weekly, we just had the weekly close also. So we also have the previous week's value, which has been established. You can see the resistance we're having at these points here. We're just struggling. Whoops, sorry about that. We're just struggling to get above this. Each wick into it is being sold off. Obviously, it's being a pretty clean line in the sand. In terms of like intraday weekly plays, I think we start accepting back in here. I'm looking for that move up to last week's VWAP. This is at roughly 89,200. And somewhere I'd be looking for, some sort of rejection to occur. But this is pretty much where I'm looking to, if we do, I am long at the moment from this sweep we took down here into the VWAP. But, if we do accept back inside this valley, I'm looking to ride this up into this level here. So now if we plot all those levels on a chart, we can quite cleanly see where they are. So, it's always good to have your VWAP levels here, but obviously it's quite hard to remember where they are when you're just looking at all these charts. So what you actually want to do is go and drop some line tools on that and get the exact coordinates, and then you can actually mark these out on a clean chart. And then simply, we are just ranging, so we want to play level to level. Now you can see right now, obviously getting that rejection at the previous week's value area low for VWAP. Previous month's value area low is just above that, so we do have some lines in the sand to overcome if we do push up from here. Obviously, price is being supported right now. It's done this very nice flip of the 30-minute trend. So I'm just looking for this to hold for now, but if we start accepting in here, I'm just looking at all these points here to be resistance. I'm just not aiming to take profit at them so much, more so just looking for signs of reversion there. If we don't get that, I'm just looking for that run up from here into the previous week's VWAP, and that's pretty much the high time frame target. Now I should say, if we start accepting back inside the yearly value, developing like I was talking about, then I'll probably look for that rotation. That would have to be a daily close, like I said. Probably look for that rotation to go all the way up to the previous week's value area high, just because it's also the point of breakdown from this range we had just before the monthly open dump. Now, switching across to Discord, I was talking about that short that I caught in the Miles High Club. You can actually see that here. So now this previous week's value area high level is gone because obviously we're in a new week now, but you can see how clean this short was. We had this consolidation here. I was saying in the group, I was looking for a sweep up above this level and possibly into the yearly open, which we fell just short of. But you can see once we swept that previous week's value area high, we started to accept back inside the local range. And this was enough of a trigger for me to go short, which we can see here pretty much. So 92,259, give or take, 92,250 was the level there. So yeah, very nice trigger there. I took profit pretty quickly. I took profit at the previous week's VWAP and it actually went quite a bit lower just because I was looking for that rotation back. I didn't actually think we'd dump so much, but it is what it is. By the way, if you want to join the Miles High Club, conditions have been pretty tough, but we're still been cleaning up amongst all the analysts. So, these are some of the trades I've taken. Other than that, it's just, ongoing daily updates and sort of, framing everything for you guys so you can just have a step-by-step sort of how to navigate this market. This is just my BTC channel. We also have the alts channel where I'm posting constant setups here. Many things to watch, many sort of daily updates on alts and just sort of, where the rotation's going, what we should look for on things. But yeah, in terms of local price action right now, I just think I am focused on playing these levels. Now, what I'm looking for a good long trigger, I would really like to see some sort of move down to the range low again. This is a 83K give or take. I think right now where it stands, if we keep rejecting at this level here and we start accepting back inside this range, I'll be looking for us to lose this 30-minute trend. Once we lose that sort of gives a trigger that the trend is shifted. We can look for that downside move. This is potentially we're going to look to hedge my current long position or just take profit on it and open a fresh short. So something like this, a rejection back in here, you can either play the loss of the money noodle, the trend, or you can actually just play like a break back inside the range and some sort of bearish retest of the highs. Something like that, low time frame execution trigger. Be looking for a move down to the Q2 value area low. And if we get actually down here and sweep this like 83K low, this is where I would look for a new long setup intraday. And obviously we still have our lines in the sand that we can target to the upside if that happens. Now, we also have some other levels to play with. So if I actually get rid of the VWAP here and pull up the composite, you'll just see these gray boxes. Let's go out to the daily together. You will see me marking out these levels of previous ranging periods, known as composites. So you can call them supply and demand. It's basically the same thing. We're just localizing it to where 70% of the transactions took place within those ranges. You can use something like a TPO chart for this. You can merge your profiles together that overlap and you can create your composites that way. But I think a lot of people, TPO might go over your head if you're not familiar with it. You can actually just use the FRVP, which I've shown to you guys before. So you go to the projection tab on the left-hand side, you can go down, fixed range volume profile. And this is like an anchoring tool. So what you do with this is you drag it between 2 points and you can get the price action for those 2 points. So if I just drag one from here to where the next shift happens, so basically this whole range, you'll see where 70% of these transactions took place, which is known as a value area here, between these two orange lines. So what I like to do, I usually mark these out as well as VWAP levels, and you can actually folder them. I know it looks a bit messy here. You can see on the right-hand side, I have composites. Let's just drag this out. I have TPO composites and I have VWAP. So if I switch VWAP on, all the levels come up. This is just a way to have good chart hygiene, because I think when you have too many lines in the chart, it's just, analysis paralysis, you could say. And it just becomes very confusing as to what you're doing, because you put so much conviction in all these different levels with sort of missing the bigger picture, not seeing the forest through the trees, as they say. So generally I like to mark all these levels out and then I just audition them one by one via the folders to sort of see if there's overlap between them. If there's overlap between them, it sort of gives more strength to a level. So anyway, while we're here, you can see, like I've already been over the VWAP, but you can see just in terms of composites here, how clean these have been. So we'll look right here. We can see we basically swept this composite low. This was from 30th of March this year. Sorry, this is from March this year. It's basically a 60-day composite there. And where do we come up and tag into? We rejected clean at this composite from May. So these are quite, handy to draw. All you do is you pretty much just draw the value area, then I just extend a box across that to the right-hand side. And you can also trade level to level this way. So if I go down to something like the 30-minute time frame and pull the VWAP back up, we can see if there's any overlap in these levels. So as I showed before, the level's now gone, but I had the previous week's value area high, which was pretty much just here at 92,250. We can see that lines up with this composite here. So this gives us more strength. We also had the yearly open there, so it's even more sort of power for that level. And then if we go back to the other one, in terms of the initial sort of bounce down here at this 80K level, previous year's value area high, but also you can see it was that composite low. So we have a lot of strength at these levels, just given on the sort of extremes of value there. And especially with lining them up with VWAP, you have just that extra confluence of levels. So something you can do, something I teach, quite rigorously in the Miles High Club. Once again, if you want access to that, links in the description. This is not a group shield so much. I'm just saying if you guys want to double down on education while conditions aren't good, now's probably the time to do it. Now, as discussed, the big bear market line in the sand where I'm looking to pick up some cold storage spot for the next swing. Where is it? It is down here. Roughly around 65K is the level I have marked out, but it's basically starting at that composite, the 8-month range we had before the Trump inauguration. So this is roughly 70K down to 60K, pretty clean 10K range. If we do come down here, I think this is where we start to form a bottom. Now, if we do start to come down here, this is where I'm looking to pick up spot for an eventual move. I don't know what year it will come, eventual move back to new all-time high and beyond. Now, as I said, we want to marry these composite levels up with VWAP. So we can see if we go back to the VWAP chart on the yearly, that 65K level lines up with the previous year's VWAP. This is bang on 65K. And we can see it lines up with that composite area from here. So something like this would be a very nice move and where I'm looking for some sort of bottom to form, a bear market bottom. Now, whether we just trend up from there, if you just pull it out like this, remove all the indicators for a sec, maybe we come up here and we form some sort of head and shoulders pattern. So maybe we get that move up from 65K to like 107K, give or take. That would just be still a nice move and where you can still take profit and capitalize on this. And if we do continue ranging or go lower, it's still a very nice swing to take. So I think, I'm not one for classical patterns, but in terms of what this is, that would be a pretty clean line in the sand to see some sort of rejection if that happens. All right, so enough talk about BTC. I'm not going to cover alts today just because, alts aren't doing much and they haven't for a long while, apart from outliers. I've caught a few trades in them here and there in the group, but I just think I'm more focused on trading BTC and ETH at the moment just because they're trading very cleanly with VWAP, with key levels. And that's sort of all you need to do. Just focus on one asset and really lock into it. And I think you can extract more value than trying to sort of spray and pray across different alts that are hot on the day. Because we often see like 12 hours later that initial rally just dies. So in terms of ETH right now, in terms of VWAP, came up. We pretty much missed the previous year's value area low by like a few $100s. And where do we come up and reject that? Pretty cleanly at the 365-day rolling VWAP, the developing yearly VWAP, and also the previous year's VWAP. So obviously a very big line in the sand. I think for me with ETH, I'd love to see this bottom swept. So let's say down at 2,600, I'd love to see some sort of sweep of that, an acceptance back inside value for a long trigger back up to the mid here. So, roughly 2,600, let's say, up into, give or take, 3,000. That would make for a nice trade. If we start accepting above that, probably look for a new trade up into the highs there. Quarterly is not giving us much to go on. You can see the levels down here. We front ran the previous quarter's value area high. We front ran the Q2 value area high by a hair, just like we did with the yearly previous year's value area high. So, once again, just looking for that sweep down into this level at 2,600. I think it makes for quite a nice confluence pocket there, given the levels. Monthly, not really giving us anything. We can look at the weekly. So the developing, we can actually see developing weekly VWAP is just capping price continuously. So maybe we see some sort of rotation back down to the lows, roughly 27.50, maybe some sort of push back up to the highs. Maybe we overshoot a bit and have some sort of rejection here at 28.50 or 28.70, I should say, which is the previous week's value area low. If we start accepting back in there and have a rally in the market again, obviously we just have our midpoint of the VWAP and the previous week's value area high as potential targets if that happens. So we can leave it there. I will be back in 2 days with an update on current structure and wherever the market is. Hopefully these levels play out that I've given you today. Feel free to drop any comments. I'll get back to you. Any questions, I'm always happy to help out. Please remember to like and subscribe to the channel. I am growing pretty decently, but you know, your support means everything, and that's how I grow this thing. And other than that, be well, and I'll catch you in a few days. Cheers.